It is my privilege to introduce Maria Bates. I don't know how many years ago Maria and I met. I was teaching a 2-day workshop, and I think she came to one of the 2 days. Um, Maria was kind enough to say, I would love, in a group meeting about 3 weeks ago, I'd be happy to teach some things on AI. And you guys are in for a treat. So, Maria, it's all you. And you let me know whatever you need from me as your person to click or anything.
Okay, thank you, Steve. Thanks for this opportunity. I have, just to give you a little bit of background on how this came about, is this this year they reorganized my division at MasterCard, and in January when they gave out team goals, they gave out no goals for my team, which kind of tells you what's coming. So I started using every resource I had available to me to scale up, and one of the resources was AI. And things that I've discovered for using AI with your job search, I wanted to share with people because it has made a world of difference. So the first thing I want to tell you all is that AI is not there to do the thinking for you. It will lie to you confidently. So it stand AI is a large language learning model. It doesn't think for itself, it's an algorithm. It is a tool. So think of AI like the brilliant intern who absolutely cannot be trusted. Is it capable? Yes. Is it in charge? No, that's your job. Does it need clear instructions? Absolutely. And each of the four major AIs has a very different personality because of the models it was trained on. So the AI is machine learning applied to large language data sets. Any questions so far? So meet your staff. These are your AI interns. ChatGPT, think of it like a golden retriever. It's overly friendly. It will tell you anything you want to hear, regardless of whether it's right, wrong, indifferent, moral, immoral, illegal. It just wants to make you happy. Um, Gemini described it as your Harvard-bound cheerleader. Copilot, that's the office dog. It was trained on business data sets because it is Microsoft. It was trained on basically all the data Microsoft had available. And that includes client data too. So if you want something to sound very professional, if you are running a Windows system, you have Copilot. Gemini. So ChatGPT is the one that gave me the dog analogies. And ChatGPT called Gemini the beagle. It will run down any rabbit hole Google has. You ask it for a stick, it'll bring you 4 sticks and a rock. Um, in an office persona, think of it as your research scientist who doesn't always check the references. Claude is my favorite to work with. ChatGPT called it the border collie. And to me, Claude seems to be a little bit more professional. Um, Gemini called it the stuffy humanities professor. So, and that's okay. Claude will snark on the others as well. There's really, they each have different data sets. ChatGPT was trained on Reddit. Copilot was trained on Offices. Gemini was trained on everything Google can access, and Claude was trained on academics. So basically, university library research papers, things like that. So depending on the type of answer you want back is the type of tool you use. So that kind of gives you an idea of the personalities of each of the AIs. And is there any other AI that maybe you use today that you're interested in adding to the list? Anyone?
What about the Elon Musk one? What do you think about that one?
So Grok, consider the data set it's been trained on. It's been trained on Twitter.
Oh,
Okay, so consider that. You know, we talked about the Harvard-bound cheerleader, the stuffy professor. I consider Grok that creepy uncle that believes every conspiracy theory that you try to avoid at Thanksgiving. Because Twitter is where a lot of the conspiracy theories live, and Grok has learned that language pattern. So,
I had a quick question. Steve in his email leading up to this said to look at Perplexity as well, and I'm not seeing it on here unless you're going to cover it in a different slide.
yeah, I have
That was
actually,
my question as well.
yeah,
Perplexity is one of the powerful ones that's not listed.
and
I,
you know what? She didn't give me that. I actually put it into the Golden Retriever Chat GPT and said, "Hey, here's a couple of her handouts. Would you put together? I want to promote this." And so it brought that up. I don't believe it was on your paperwork, was it, Maria?
I have never used Perplexity, so I can't really tell you what it's like. So, but that's one that, if honestly, the best AI is whichever one you'll open. So just one of the things you may want to ask any AI before you start using it is, what data set were you trained on? And when did the data set end? Because ChatGPT, you'll find, is a couple of years out. 2023 was the last data set the last update I was working on was. So Gemini is probably the most up to date. But no, if you like Perplexity, try it.
With that, um, though, going back to Grok, I know it's a conspiracy theory with Twitter, but where multiple people use Twitter, wouldn't there be more information to use the different things to argue with themselves on that? Does that make sense?
Yeah, if you're looking for alternate viewpoints, Grok might be good for that.
And then just bringing it in with the other AI models to
Yeah,
argue and figure out the validity of it.
yeah. And honestly, that's a lot of what I do. Is I will get an answer from Claude, and then I'll take it to Chat or Gemini, and they'll tell me where Claude's wrong. So,
And I'll bet Claude tells them when they're wrong too, right?
oh, with a lot of snark. So
What did you
So-
say? Could you just remind us what those were based on? You said Chat GPT was Reddit and Claude was academic,
yes.
and what
So
was Copilot and Gemini?
Copilot was based on Microsoft databases, including their customers. And Gemini is based on everything Google has access to.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
So now that you've hired your digital staff, how do you give them instructions? The way I've put this together as an easy to remember is, you are the boss, they are the staff. So you need to give context, a little bit of background, the objective, what is it you want it to do, speaker, what persona do you want it to take on in giving your answer? Is it the career coach? Is it the recruiter? Is it a dietitian? Who do you want to answer? And then structure. How do you want your answer presented? The default for pretty much every AI is to throw a wall of text at you. And I'm not going to go through a wall of text. That's just, I don't think that way. So the what I've added in the instructions for my AIs is I want bulleted data points and I want a TLDR at the end. So that's something I've just built into all of my AIs as a structure. You have a memory on each AI that may or may not translate between chats. But if you're using project folders in any of them, then you can set that up as a baseline within the project folder of how you want responses structured.
Maria,
Uh-huh.
is this boss section, is this the only one you use, or do you use multiple varieties of this in your prompting
So
across the different AI platforms?
I don't necessarily do it in this order, but I make sure that all 4 of these components are within the prompt. So I want you to answer as a specialist in this field. I want
So
you to,
do you use chain of thought and tree of thought in any of your prompting? Do you know what that is?
no, I don't. I haven't heard that phrase before. Do you
Okay,
want to, would
so
you mind educating us?
uh, chain of thought basically links it in a chain. So if you get in ChatGPT, I use ChatGPT. I've used a little bit of Gemini and Perplexity in my training, but chain of thought forces your AI to give you one option and then link the sequential things in a chain, like links in a chain. And tree of thought, basically you throw out your prompt and you have the root problem on there, and then it'll branch off and give you different options. This is similar to some of the stuff I have, but I just wondered if you had different prompting things that you trained your AI on that kind of take it down that avenue that opens up more options for you in more projects or more options to the questions you have that you might not have thought of that AI might throw out there.
I have done that. I just didn't realize that's what it was called. Because a lot of times you'll get an initial answer that's like very obvious.
Hmm.
So I will say, okay, thanks, Captain Obvious. Let's go on. What else is out there? And um, just using it as a thought partner and challenging things. Um,
But you haven't set up the AI to actually give you those responses or force it to do that from the
yeah.
beginning with the prompt.
Um, I'm afraid that is probably that. No, I haven't done that. You have to remember, I'm a project manager. I'm not a programmer. So
And
I'm coming at this from a very non-technical standpoint. So
well, and that it's just how you set up your AI at the first
yeah,
with that. It's giving you the different options. Okay, thank you for that. I'll let
yeah.
you.
And honestly, Jeff, I would love to learn more about how to do that because I just set up from what I learned in the Anthropic fluency courses. So
Okay. Because I
um,
had taken a SHRM's AI class and was curious with the different promptings like you have with the boss
mhm.
here, which is similar to some of the other ones, but
Yeah,
one
I
of the
just want
trainings that I did is I'll use, depending on the project I'm working, I will use a different prompt for that, for different consulting things that I've done. And Tree of Thought's one of those that I enjoy because it forces it right from the get-go to give you multiple options. You can put how many branches off of that tree or that root that you want that will allow you to kind of do the same thing with the boss, but it forces AI to kind of spit those out so you're not going back to the original question, having to redefine your AI. or the options that it'll build it out right from the start rather than walking it back or doing a question. So
Yeah.
I'm just curious if you had any other options on that.
Yeah. Honestly, where this is a beginner AI class, an AI 101, where this is the second time I've given this class, and it's designed mainly for people who may have never even opened AI before.
Yeah, and
So,
I had with this class, I'd never done it as well,
mhm,
but there were they had given multiple prompts for that and basically trained like the first three classes of the four, we were just setting the AI up for that.
yeah. And I will admit that none of the classes I've taken, either through MasterCard or through any of the other sources that I'll list later, have taught me anything about setting the AI up. So that that's something that I would definitely love to learn.
Okay.
I have a question. I haven't set the AI up, but it seems to know me really well because I use it every day. Is that kind of like setting it up, Maria?
Um, yes and no. When you use AI every day and on the same machine, it tends to store things in memory. And sometimes you'll notice things will be in memory and sometimes they won't. And there are some things that will transition between chats and some things that absolutely won't. And a lot of that is short-term versus long-term memory and what actually got stored to the long-term memory.
Okay, thank you.
And sometimes there are things that you ask it to store to long-term memory that it still doesn't, because the SoFi position I interviewed with last week, it kept asking me, "Have you verified whether this is Utah or Florida?" I'm like, "I verified back in March that this was Utah," but it still does not remember that I told it that in March. So
Okay.
And Maria, that's not just a matter of whether or not you have the paid service or you're doing a free version that's intentionally not remembering.
I have a paid version on Claude, and it's still not remembering that I did that that I find that. If there's something you absolutely want it to remember, I usually tell it, please store this in memory so that we don't have to discuss it again. So
A lot of that too comes from your initial setup when you do it because you're throwing so much stuff into the AI generator that when you initially set it up, you can go into the settings, you can prompt a lot of that right from the beginning that certain prompts, like if you were to set up this boss, if I'm not mistaken, you can put your B always as your background. Anytime you type in this boss acronym, you can have B always be your background, your O always be your objective, the S in structure always be that, and program it into that. So every time it goes in, it saves that as well.
That sounds like
yeah,
something maybe we should maybe do in another job team of how to set it up maybe with different prompts or so. Sorry,
That
Maria,
yeah,
we're not helping you move forward at all, but this is good.
yeah. So anyway, the next step was I was just going to do a demo of how the prompting works. So let me.
And while she's doing that, did everybody get everybody, whether you just came in or whatever, everybody should have the email I sent out with the agenda and the AI prompting sheet.
I just saw it come through.
Okay.
Just a second here, and I'm going to stop sharing for just a moment so that I can set the screen up. Okay, I just pulled up Gemini. And I'm just going to do kind of a generic example. Unless somebody else has another example.
By the way, this is pretty personal.
Yep. My husband had a heart attack last week, which kind of put a cramp in my job search. So okay. I've got my B, the background. It's a diabetic heart attack survivor with 2 adults in the house. My objective is 5 budget-friendly dinners. The speaker is a dietitian, and the output is broken out by day with the recipes and a printable grocery list. So
So the speaker is the AI or the speaker is you?
the speaker is the AI. Who do you
Okay,
want it to be?
thanks.
And of course, it tells me that it gives me that little dopamine burst here at the beginning. And then gives a 5-day meal plan.
Is there
there
is there a reason you went with Gemini over anybody else?
It was the fastest one to pull up.
Okay.
So
are any of the settings changed in Gemini to a thinking process or analytical process there to allow it to take a deep dive into its thought process?
I don't know. There is a place where you could add that. I just started using Gemini like last week. So I haven't done a lot with Gemini yet. I haven't learned a lot about it.
And what free versions versus paid versions are you using, Maria?
I have paid versions on Claude, and I have a paid version on there's an Android one on my phone that gives access to multiple AIs that I did a lifetime on it when it first came out. And it's called AI Chat. But with AI Chat, which is strictly for Android devices, you can select which of the AIs you want it to use for its answers. So, and so it gives you access to multiples of them, and you can put some background in so that it gives that background to whichever tool you're using. Now, just to give you an example, most people use AI like Google. this give me 5 dinners for this week is the type of prompt that most people do. And I should have started that new chat. So, because at this point, it knows already that I'm looking for diabetic meals.
So, question, when you're prompting in each chat, if you designate it at the very beginning, then only that chat has that prompt, right? Once you
Right.
start a new chat, you have to prompt it again.
Yep.
Or project to project to project, right?
Right.
Which I haven't set up my projects yet on either. I'm using Claude and ChatGPT. But I do have different chats for every resume I've put in, basically.
Yeah.
But I do prompt it at every one. So I was just making sure that's what you have to do.
Yep. No, you do. The other thing is that as a specific chat gets longer, it starts using more tokens. So
Yeah, I've noticed that with Claude, even though I have a paid version of Claude and ChatGPT. But with Claude, once I hit my tokens, hit close to that, I can just wait like 4 hours or whatever it is, and I can use
Yep.
ChatGPT for a little while or take a break or whatever. But ChatGPT, the paid version, I have long chat histories in there, and I have not hit my tokens on that one. It seems like Claude, I hit them a lot sooner. But regardless, it works.
Is there a way
Yeah.
for us to tell where we sit on tokens? And is things that we have that we ask, like something like this, that we don't care anymore, if we decide we don't after we're done with it, do we delete it? Does that give us more token space, or how does all that work?
That is actually in the addendum
Okay,
that I
perfect.
passed out.
Okay.
So
Yeah, and you know, at least I read part of that. And so the tokens that you're being charged for, if you will, that's just what you typed into the prompt, or is all this output considered token related as well?
the output is considered token related as well.
So there's an advantage for it to be wordy then.
Yep.
Oh.
I have a question, just curious, the curiosity here. What's the advantage to the paid
You get more
over the
tokens.
non-paid?
You get more tokens in the paid version.
Token is
Token is how much you can use it for free or paid before you have to either pay more or have to wait to use it again,
Yep.
from what I've
I
gathered.
see yeah. Okay. I got it. Thank you.
You don't have unlimited use.
Well, that's a bummer.
Yeah.
Well, Elon needs more money, buddy. So, you know.
And he's
I'm
not even on,
sorry.
he's not even one of the ones we're looking at.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. Okay, so give me just 1 second here and I will have our PowerPoint back up. But you can see the difference, and as was mentioned in the chat, Stacy says that she also adds in which store. And I'll admit, when I'm actually doing real meal planning, I will take screenshots. Well, I'll take pictures of I shop at Harmon's. So I'll take pictures of the Harmon's ad for the week so that it can consider what's on sale that week as well. And I love it because meal planning used to be a really real bad chore, and now takes me under an hour.
I guess you could also tell it, here's what I have on hand.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You can tell.
And that way you can use some of the stuff that well, I'm probably the only person who has stuff in the freezer that needs to be eaten.
Yeah. No, I will definitely do that. And in fact, another example, when I did this, I told it I had chicken, rice, and eggs. And so it did most of the recipes based around chicken. So, So with a generic answer like meal planning and that, you could, a lot of times with meal planning, I'll end up pushing back because with heart healthy diabetic meals, it will give me a lot of tofu, and I do not like tofu. It'll also give me a lot of eggplant, and I don't like eggplant. So
Can you tell it up front to not include those kind of things?
I can tell it up front not to include those things.
Okay.
And on Claude, I actually have a project folder that says no tofu, no eggplant. The things absolutely no chicken a la king, because when my husband was in the Marine Corps, they ate at 3 meals a day for 3 weeks. So we absolutely do not do anything that's even remotely close to an a la king. So I'd remember also that what you get back from the AI is a draft. So just like if the intern brings you a completed project, you want to look it over. You want to read emails or resumes out loud, because if you stumble over reading it, the recruiter's going to redo. And you'd be surprised how many times AI will change your titles, even though you tell it you cannot change the job titles. Also, does it sound like you? And I'll admit, one of the first things I do with AIs when I use it is I have blogged for, close on 20 years now. And I will send the AI out to read my blog to learn about my writing style and how I sound. So, so does it sound like you? If it sounds stiff or fake, rewrite it. And remember, you are the editor. The brilliant intern works for you. You don't work for it. And don't be afraid to push back. It is not rude to challenge a tool. And it's interesting. I got my mom using AI a little bit for some things, especially, this is what this person said. Is this a scam? And there are times that she's like, well, I couldn't push back on that. That would be rude. And I'm like, Mom, it's not a person. It's not a person, Mom. So, but I will say that ChatGPT has stopped her from sending bank information to at least 10 people. So that has been helpful. Any questions? Okay, here are some free educational resources. Claude 101, if you have never used AI at all, Claude 101 is, you can use any AI, you don't have to use Claude, but it gives you the it'll give you the basics of prompting, it'll give you some basic information, it'll talk about the 4 Ds that apply. And then I would say the one I would take after that is Anthropic's AI fluency course. It takes about 2 hours, unless you go down rabbit holes doing the assignments. The OpenAI Academy was that class was pretty good. I have the Microsoft AI paths. Those are the ones I did with MasterCard because Copilot was the only one they let us use there. And
these are all free offerings for AI.
Yes, these are all
Learning.
free. Okay, I didn't verify that the LinkedIn Learning is free. So this is my bad because I didn't validate that one against what
That's
the
okay.
AI gave me.
I'll give a thing. This doesn't include everybody who's not in Utah, but if you're in another state, which is 4 of you today, Utah, LinkedIn Learning is available. If you have a LinkedIn Learning is available for free for for as long as this public library has it. So you just have to have a library card and you don't have to leave your home, just have to do that. In other states, sometimes it's a different learning, such as maybe but well, there's every state library has free learning, like LinkedIn Learning.
A lot of times too, you can get access to LinkedIn Learning and other sources if you have an unemployment claim open through the workforce services.
And if you're a veteran, you get LinkedIn Premium for 1 year for free. Let me know, and I will be happy to send you that link for people who are veterans. And I think spouses too, so that could apply to your husband for you, Maria.
Yeah, I would definitely be interested in that.
The premium version for 1 year for free because you're unemployed.
Yeah. Yep. So, and my last official day of work with MasterCard is next week. I'm in my what they call the notification period. That's pretty much the end of the slideshow, and we can go over the handout since we still have additional time here. So this is what I do, who I am. Connect with me on LinkedIn. Let's go over, everybody should have a copy of the handout now. Let me stop sharing for a moment. While I pull
Okay,
up the
thanks,
handout.
Tommy. Tommy says Arkansas offers it for free.
Oh, cool.
Well, the chat GPT part of me wants to do this, wants you to say, thank you so far what you've shared. That's our little applause. Okay. Okay.
Okay, let me. Where is that?
I can screen share it if you want me to.
Yeah, if you could, because I have downloaded it 3 times now and it still is not showing up in my files.
Okay, tell me if everybody sees that. Is that the right one or is that the, nope, that's not the
Yep.
right. That's the addendum. You want the other one,
No,
right?
no, let's start with this one. Let's start with the handouts.
Okay.
Or, no, you're right. Let's go ahead and start with the addendum. So,
Oh, sorry. I just got rid of it. Now you guys are seeing everything I don't want you to see. There we go. Okay.
That's the same one.
No, it's the other one. Sorry.
that one says, yeah, that one says the prompts handout. So
I've got them in 2 different things. Hold on. This is when it's nice to have, someone who actually is the, what do you call it? The person that just puts things up for everybody, the assistant. Okay, here it is, I believe.
and if not, I have it.
Okay, I'll let you screen down if you already have it.
No, yeah, okay, yeah. This is the addendum. So so what is a token and why does it matter? So every word you type, every word the AI responds with costs tokens. The free tools have a limited budget plan. The paid ones give you a larger budget. And with the paid ones, you can also opt for pay as you go once you hit your limit, or you can just wait for it to reset. Excuse me, a typical resume usually runs 500 to 800 tokens, and a job description is usually 300 to 600. So some of these some of the prompts in the handout we're going to go over ask you to do both. You can always trim the job description to just the relevant portions. So you can take out the background history of the company and some of the other information.
I have a
So
question. In some cases, it lets you either copy and paste the exact words in there, or it lets you upload the document. Is there any difference or is it the same thing?
same number of words.
Okay.
So, and I
Well-
have found that if there's some career sites that the AI can actually read the job description on the career site. In those cases, I'll just post a link, and I'm finding that actually uses it uses fewer tokens if I do it that way, which is funny because you would think that the API usage would have more tokens than just posting it all within the description, but
Which
it's not.
AIs are using the tokens? I guess I'm confused on the token aspect of this.
Every AI uses it. So Copilot, Gemini, Chat, Claude, they all use a token version.
As
And
far
that-
as how far you can go in it with the paid version,
Well,
or
how far you can do anything within it, really. There's right now there's a rumor running around LinkedIn saying that some company used like 5 million or 5 billion in tokens or something. That is like, well, that's kind of silly for Anthropic to allow them to do that without charging them for it. So
I think with the free, with what I did and the building code and everything and the training, we didn't, all of our stuff was for free. We never hit a maximum level, and we were creating high level projects. In
yeah.
that we had one, well, it was the leader of SHRM out of Salt Lake that was creating code with ChatGPT on a free version.
Yeah. I have never hit my paid limit on Claude. So even with some of the apps that I've built. So
And I think Steve asked the question, is there a gas gauge somewhere you can look at to see how much you've used so far?
yeah, so with the pro version on Claude, I can go down to my profile and it will have a usage meter there.
And does it reset every day, or does it reset once a month, or how often does it reset?
So my paid version, I have a daily limit and a weekly limit. And I've only hit the daily limit once. And I've hit the weekly limit never. I think the closest I've come to the weekly limit, I actually built a website with an application in it, embedded in it, and I hit 75% that week. So the paid version has been pretty generous for me. So we've got a comparison of the free tiers. ChatGPT tends to be a little shorter. I have never really hit my daily limit on chat on Gemini, Copilot, or Claude before. And
Can
with
you
Claude,
can you zoom in on that?
I should be able to. Hold on.
You can click on it and control and wheel mouse to zoom in.
Yeah.
If that
Oh,
helps.
There, is that better?
yes.
Okay,
Thank
so
you.
so Gemini and Claude, I've never hit my daily limit. Copilot, I hit it once. So a lot of times, like somebody mentioned earlier, if you hit your limit, switch to another tool for an hour or so. And then by then, usually your limit will have rolled on. And when they say daily, it's a rolling 24 hours. So if you didn't use AI yesterday and you hit your limit today, just wait a little bit and it'll roll through. So tips for getting the most out of the free tools: trim your resume before pasting, summarize the job description, basically just copy only the requirements and the responsibility sections. Start a fresh chat between steps sometimes. And I will admit that sometimes if I know a chat is getting really long, I will say, please summarize this chat for a new conversation. And then I've got a prompt to put in and start a new conversation that will use fewer tokens.
I was just gonna say when I do that, I have a rolling on Claude, I have a rolling task manager. So it has every resume I put in, what the steps are, where I'm at in the process, and I have it add every time I finish one, I add it to that. So if I have to start a new conversation, I can just upload that document into the new chat.
I have a master resume that I have it refer back to, which has everything it's ever added for any resume at all gets added to the master. So you can split the heavy prompts into 2 sessions. And of course, Claude told me to use Claude for longer prompts. Make sure to save your AI output before closing, because sometimes with the free ones, I've had chats disappear on me. So if it's something important, I will upload it to my drive before closing the session at all. So my middle child is a developer and has found that when he is using Codex or Claude Code, that sometimes it will forget the original prompt. So he actually has a built-in instruction that at so many tokens, go back and check the document and make sure you're still on task. So, and it notifies him when it goes and checks the document so that he can validate his work at that point.
Marie, I think it's important too, the bigger we go with this, that we have that built in.
Yes.
And save for that, because if it's built in like your boss or your role, your task, your function, or the instructions are built into that, it's not going to forget that. I think many times we use AI and we just throw the questions in and we're not intentional on how we do it.
Yep.
And you said multiple times that you'll reset the chat, but I think resetting the chat, or going to a different platform when your tokens expire, is you're losing some validity in what you're trying to create by switching between Claude, ChatGPT, even if it is for an hour. That
Yep.
we're losing that rather than waiting for that or paying for that. We're losing the validity of what we're actually trying to do.
Yep. And again, sometimes if you run out of budget in the middle of an answer, it'll stop.
Yeah.
So you definitely need to validate everything. So that is the end of the addendum. So let me pull up the prompts document and we can go over that together too. And these are things that I have found helpful to myself in my job search. And with the handout, some of this will be repetitive from the PowerPoint, just because when I created this, I didn't know that there would be a PowerPoint, and now there is. So, so again, treat AI like a brilliant new intern. Sometimes it makes things up very confidently. Another, I didn't mention it in the PowerPoint presentation, but protect your personal information. These language models report back home, and your conversations become fodder for more learning for the machines. So do not put any of the following into a free AI tool. You don't want to put your social security number, your date of birth, your full home address. You know, city and state's all they need for a resume anyway. Phone numbers or personal email addresses. I use my business one. I use my business email on my resumes. I shouldn't say business. I use my, well, job searching is my business at the moment. So I created an email strictly for my job search. And that's the one that's the one on my resumes. That's the one I'm using inside. I've had people say never put your banner in, but I like my banner to be formatted the same way as the rest of the resume, so Claude knows my banner. So does Gemini. Never, ever, ever put any financial information into an AI tool, unless you know what the governance is and know where it's sharing. Because
So,
I'll admit I use AI for budgeting, but I don't give it access to my bank accounts.
yeah, you said the free tools, but I mean, if you're paying for it, it's still absorbing that information into its
Into
global model. So
yeah. So I
you
would
exposed even when you're paying, I guess is the question.
double check your governance, the governance portion of your contract. I would not put my bank account information into any AI tool, free or paid. So, because you're having come from cybersecurity, anytime you post your bank account information, your password information, anytime you put that out on the internet anywhere, you're exposing yourself to data breaches. So absolutely do not put it into an AI tool, because I honestly do not know the security. If you don't know the security behind something, don't give it information. Just don't. And don't put in anybody else's personal information either. Anything that's already public is safe to share. So, and you know, I've had people say, well, I can't put that in. And it's like, that's already, you've already shared it on Threads or Twitter or somewhere else. So why are you getting upset about putting it into Gemini? So basically, if you wouldn't state it publicly, don't share it in AI. Okay. So the prompts that I have as part of here. For some reason, the trackball was just not working on this. So the first thing I did was a cold resume audit. So review my resume as a career coach who is not trying to make me feel good. Okay, I was using ChatGPT up front. Identify vague or weak language, accomplishments missing. It says missing numbers here, but I put accomplishments missing results on my original one. Anything that sounds like a job description instead of an achievement, and anything that would make a recruiter's eyes glaze over. Do not rewrite it yet, just diagnose it. And it'll offer to rewrite it the moment you put it in. So because originally I said accomplishments missing results, it still wasn't looking for numbers, but it suggested where I could put results and suggested results to put in, which may or may not have been accurate. And that's why I ended up changing the prompt to numbers, is because they were very generic results that it was giving me. So also, if you're using ChatGPT, this is a follow-up prompt that I've used in the past with ChatGPT, is stop complimenting me, stop trying to build me up. Just tell me what's wrong. It's that golden retriever bit. So role discovery. If you have worked in the same company, the same role for a lot of time, for a lot of years, titles change, job descriptions change. Find out what things are being called nowadays. I was working with somebody who was applying to business analyst roles. No, the guy was a change manager. But because when he had first started, he started as a business analyst, he thought that's what it was still called. It's like, no, dude. So he was also probably closer to product owner in a technical setting than a lot of the other things he was doing. But he's now looking at change manager roles because the other thing is that sometimes we don't see what we've accomplished ourselves. And if you are just starting out on a resume, ask the AI to ask you questions to help you build your resume. Tell it the stories of your greatest accomplishments, your hardest challenges. You know, things that you would be asked in a job interview that ought to show up for your resume. Because there were things that I was definitely underselling on myself. So LinkedIn profile optimization. And I will say, with LinkedIn profile optimization, this is one thing that take the AI's advice, but rewrite it in your own words, because so much of LinkedIn is turning into LinkedIn's AI tool language. So LinkedIn has a built-in AI tool that if you are premium, you get to use free. But you can tell when people have used it. Everything's a complex system. And that you just see matrixed is another hot word right now in LinkedIn's AI prompting, or excuse me, AI results. So you can download your LinkedIn profile as a PDF. It can only be done on a computer, not tablet or phone. If you do not have access to a computer, public libraries have ones you can download from. Just make sure to clear all passwords and information from any public.
Maria, is that preferred over basically just giving it the URL?
LinkedIn actually does a block against AI scraping.
Okay.
So you can give it the URL and it'll tell you, I can't access this. So, and any of the paid subscriptions will allow you to just upload a PDF. So, if you can't use the LinkedIn PDF export, you can always do a copy and paste. So, So the thing is, if you are not getting recruiters calling you from your LinkedIn profile, it needs work. If you're not checking your analytics and seeing if recruiters are looking at your page, it needs some work. I usually get 5 to 9 recruiter hits a week. And I understand that's about average in my field. Some fields have more, some fields have less. So elevator pitch builder, I don't use the one that it gave me, but it gave me enough ideas for me to be able to build my own. But those were the 4 things I did to set myself up for my job search. Any questions on those 4? Okay. Keyword extraction. Every system, unless you've got somebody who's going to hand walk your resume over or is going to email your resume in to the hiring manager, every resume is going to run through an ATS system nowadays. So extract the keywords, phrases, skills, qualification a recruiter would use to screen resumes, and list them as required, preferred, and soft, or culture signals. I've worked with Claude enough that it knows what cultures I'm not going to be happy in, just because of things that we've discussed in my project folder. So when I get the keyword extraction now, Claude actually tells me these are the red flags at this job. So things that are not going to be a culture fit for me, I'm not going to waste time doing a resume for. If I know, I know I'm early enough in my job search to be picky, but things that just scream, oh, this is going to be a micromanager, not even going to worry about it. Or if I know it's going to be a micromanaging culture within the company, those are companies I avoid. Before anybody says, well, wait, does that kick out all the military ones? No, it doesn't, because after Turn the Ship Around came out, some of the military are not micromanaging, believe it or not. So keyword gap analysis, here's the job description in my resume. Identify top keywords which are missing out of my resume. So, and you can also ask it to suggest where would be best places to work those keywords in. So, and this, the red flag audit's one that I started asking after if I'm applying over 3 days from when the job opening posted, they've already looked at several hundred resumes at this point. I need something that's going to make me stand out. So this is the red flag audit is the one that I built to help with that. And it's, I'm going to paste a job description and the resume I plan to submit. You are a skeptical hiring manager who has seen 200 resumes this week. Be brutally honest. What are the top 3 to 5 reasons you would pass on this candidate without calling them? Do not soften the feedback. So this is basically to find what are the red flags in my resume that would stop a hiring manager. And it was interesting because the first couple resumes I built, subconsciously, I was putting negative language in a couple of the achievements that I had. Just because they were things that had been really hard, and there was still a little resentment on some of the projects. So I had put some unconscious bias words in there that Claude pulled out and said, if I were to read this, I would think you are a negative person. And I also wrote out my star stories for my interviews, and I've gotten some rephrasing so that I don't come across as negative.
Maria, I would hope everybody knows what STAR is, but I do. But talk about the behavioral based and why you're there. Since you opened that box, tell a bit more on that. And do you use AI for some of your STAR stories, some of your behavioral based?
Yes, I do. So but what I will do is, okay, so a STAR story, it's an acronym that basically is the situation, the task, the actions, and the results. So you state what the situation is, you state what the task you were assigned to do is, what you did in that task, and what the results were. There's a lot of people who are saying that you need to flip that and go with the results first and do it backwards. So you do kind of a RATS sort of thing instead of STAR. And the other acronym you'll see is ARTS, which is the action, the result, the task, and the situation. Because sometimes you just need the action and the results, and the task and the situation can be a follow-up question. And I will admit that sometimes having AI look at where my resume fits and what the job description is, when it says, well, you're missing these skills, it will bring up things that I did in former jobs. That's like, oh, no, wait, I did this, this, and this in this role. At which point the AI will say, well, you haven't put it on your resume. We don't have a STAR story for it. And then I can add those to my master documents. So sometimes you may have forgotten something, and just having the AI remind you that you did this can be very helpful. So at least I found it helpful for me. I've done a lot of talking. Are there any questions?
Your resume is only supposed to go back 10 years, say.
Uh-huh.
What do you do about all the stuff that you did previously? How do you add it in or integrate it somehow?
So most of my healthcare experience, I grew up in a third-party administrator. My father owned the company, and I started working at age 11. So by the time I was 18, I could audit medical claims. I put in the first automated claims system and built the algorithms for it. I don't want to admit to somebody I spent the first 20 years of my career knowing everything there is to know about third-party administration. But I do have a section of my resume. It doesn't show up on my LinkedIn at all, but I do have a section of my resume that says previous experience and the name of the company. So it has no dates on it, but it has what I did, the accomplishments I had there.
Oh.
Yeah. So what she's saying, Larry, and everybody else, I mean, many of us talked about this, but if not, there was the old rule of thumb years ago, she talks about a master resume. We should all have those because we have so much great, rich information that can be pulled to tailor our resume. But 10 to 15 years, and then you get to that point where, just like Maria's saying, other relevant experience, and you don't put dates, because what are we worried about? That wonderful word that could be used, possibly overqualified might be one of those words, or we don't want them to discriminate against us based on too much information.
Yep, exactly. And
Could I
But how do
interject?
you
Oh,
fit all that extra stuff in a 2-page resume?
I don't put all of it in every time. I just put in what's relevant.
Okay.
I mean, there are times that I'll leave jobs off completely
uh-huh.
because they weren't relevant for that resume, for that role.
Okay.
Could I
My
ask something?
my
Oh,
master
sorry.
resume is 18 pages.
Holy smoly.
Okay, Debbie, you had a question, or was it Christine?
It was Kate.
Okay, sorry.
I had a question about dates that you put on for the positions that you work. Do you include months or just years?
It depends on the ATS system. My master resume has months and years,
Mm-hmm.
and if the ATS system lets me just put in years, I'll just put in years. But if you're using Workday, it requires month and year.
Okay, right. Thank you.
Greenhouse, I think Greenhouse requires just the year. A lot of times it depends on how the administrators programmed it. And there are things that I will put, you upload your resume and then you have to put it in the ATS system. There are times that I will have that previous experience in the resume, but not in the ATS system. So that if they actually look at the resume I submit, there's additional information that they didn't get through the ATS.
Also, another way, besides if you have a lot of great accomplishments that were 20, 25 years ago, you could put a special section, maybe after, depends on the layout. The current layouts I see mostly is a summary / skill sections, and then you could put selected highlights, and they don't tie to any particular job, so people can ask about them. Stacy, have your hand up. Go ahead, Stacy.
Yeah, so far, this is really good information. One thing I run into applying for jobs, Steve just, told me about the ATS. So I'm going to start reformatting my resume, but some of the jobs have like the option to put in like a cover letter, which, I've used, and I'm just wondering if there are any recommendations or best practices that you've come across related to that feature of applying for a job over either LinkedIn or other platforms like LinkedIn.
Generally, I don't apply through LinkedIn. If I find something on LinkedIn, I will go to the company's website and apply there.
Okay.
Because there's no guarantee that the LinkedIn listing is still valid. So I always go to the company website.
Okay.
I've also found, having posted a job on LinkedIn once, that if a hiring manager is not paying very close attention, LinkedIn will relist it, even though it's been filled.
Okay.
So that's why I always go to the company website. And I do that from any aggregator, really.
Okay. Thank you.
So Maria, have you used the AI to generate a cover letter? Or have you run into cover letters that often?
I honestly, the only time I do cover letters is if they require it or ask for it. I generally don't. But the one trick I will do is, if it is a position that's posted on LinkedIn and they give the name of the recruiter on the LinkedIn posting, I will send an email to the recruiter letting them know that I have applied and doing just a brief cover letter sort of thing. as to why I'm the best fit for this role.
So let's ask Maria a question I have. How do you find the email of the recruiter?
A lot of times I have friends that work at the companies, and if I know what their company email address is, I can surmise that, okay, it's first name dot last name at and the name of the company. So if you've got the pattern for one person, you can find it for anybody else in the company. So preferably if I've got a friend there, I will have them send in my resume or cover letter, because so multiple of the ATS systems, Greenhouse, Workday, if the company has it configured, if you have a friend refer you in, they will send you a link to apply to. And I learned the hard way that if you apply to the general link instead of the referral link bypasses the ATS and you get straight to the recruiter or hiring manager. If you apply generally and then have your friend refer you in, you don't get that special link and you're stuck in the ATS system, and the recruiter can look at it and say, oh, well, they didn't match. But if you bypass the ATS system, you have a better chance at getting the interview. So whenever I find a role, the first thing I do is I look on LinkedIn and say, who do I know at this company? Do I have a first connection? Do I have a second connection? And then I will reach out to that person, and I will start with, hey, how you doing? The chit chat to reestablish connection. And then I will say, hey, I noticed this posting, and I will give them the actual link to the job posting and say, I noticed this position at your company. Would you mind referring me into this? And then they'll either say yes or no. I actually have somebody I've worked with at FanX for years who I said, hey, I noticed that this position's open at your company. Would you mind referring me in? And his response was, I couldn't even get Dan Farr's daughter an interview here. You don't want me referring you in. I'm like, okay. That's just a polite way of saying you don't want to refer me. So I looked for another connection in the company that I could use.
And I think what Maria's telling us too is sometimes if you ask them is there a referral bonus and they check, they seem to be a little bit more happy to help you sometimes.
Yep.
Because sometimes the referral bonus starts at $1,000 and up.
Definitely. Jason, you're talking on mute.
Oh no, I'm talking to myself, but that's fine. Yeah, I was just saying that. Yeah, the referral bonus is a nice grease thing to get people to be more cooperative.
Yep. Definitely. So, and the majority of the interviews I've already had came from referrals. And honestly, I have found it doesn't matter where in the company the person sits. Obviously, if you've got an exec or somebody, you're more likely to see something. But I had somebody who who's basically in charge of cleaning a clean lab, put me in for a project manager, and I still got the pre-screen. So, never discount people who can refer you in.
I know you might get to this, Maria, but after you're through with your slides, I want to know if you ever and there might be a slide on this, about how do you ever ask your AI if this is a scam when people think it might be a scam?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I will post in cold connections from recruiters on LinkedIn. I will post emails that I get, and I will say, hey, just got this recruiter connection. It feels a little hinky. And the AI will point out, oh, well, this, and this reads scam. However, it could be legit. Ask these follow-up questions. And it's really interesting because sometimes I will ask the follow-up questions and all of a sudden the conversation disappears. It's like, okay, it was a scam. Because these are questions a candidate would ask a legitimate recruiter that any recruiter should find normal. So the biggest ones I found are the scam ones will want your resume before they give you a job description. And, I don't even ask AI about that anymore. I just say, that sounds great. Can I please have the job description so I can tailor my resume before I send it to you? And if they insist that, no, just send me the resume and we'll shop you out to, it's like, nope, you don't shop me out. I control where my resume goes. A lot of the other ones, you know what? Do not pay anybody to send your resume to companies. That's where a lot of the scams are. Legitimate recruiters get paid by the company, not by the candidate. So if they're asking you for money up front to do a resume review, it's a scam. Okay, we could continue going through this, or you guys can go through it yourself. Most of it is just copy and paste. If there are any questions about them, feel free to reach out to me or reach out to Steve. So every now and then, I will run this through just to just say, okay, here's my LinkedIn profile. What roles would you consider me for? What's your biggest hesitation about contacting me? And what is the single most confusing and forgettable thing about my profile? Because I update my profile every now and then just because if your profile isn't always updated, it gets stale and you get bypassed by the LinkedIn engine. So just a quick quick reference. Here's the full sequence of the prompts I've got. And then one of the other things I have done is AI pointed out that I have taken 3 companies through mergers and acquisitions. So that is a sweet spot for me in the industry, is project management, project and program management through acquisitions. So I have built I've got a generative AI agent that every morning sends me an email from one account to another, multiple email addresses. It will send me an email from one of my email accounts saying, these 3 companies have reported either press releases or news articles about them that show they're getting ready. Basically, they're trigger warnings. So fintech or healthcare companies that have just been acquired or are looking to acquire or were just purchased. And I can start networking into those companies before they know they need me. So that's one of the tips I have. One of the other tips is if they're hiring recruiters. If a company's hiring recruiters, they're getting ready to ramp up hiring. So that's another thing I've got an agent looking out. Who's posted listings for recruiters lately? Because I can start networking into those companies as well. So So any questions?
Will you unscreen so everybody can see everybody?
Yeah. Sorry,
Perfect.
I should have done
Thanks.
that. So
Desiree.
Yes. So I had a quick question. So in Steve's intro information, it specifies that you're going to share with us how to create better networking messages. So did you have any specific samples that maybe I missed? My apologies, of where you could kind of help us with that.
you know, a lot of that is going back to that boss prompt.
Okay.
Okay. The context is this is how I know the person. My objective is a networking message.
Okay.
How do I, and I'll admit, my prompt on this one is this is how I know this person. I'm sending them either a LinkedIn message or an email or a text. How do I not sound desperate? That's literally my prompt on that.
No, that's a great suggestion. Thank you so much, Maria.
I would add one to that. And I think we always seem to focus on just where they work. You know, Maria was a discovery, so I reach out to her for discovery or discover or whatever, and she says, "Oh, didn't you just see the news? We're in the mass reorg, and you know, gives me that information, tells me, oh, by the way, I'm one of those people, but I'm still technically working, but I'm not working. I get paid, but I'll be handled my settlement thing here." There is always, you know, one door opening, letting people out, and sadly, there's another door opening that's letting people in at the very same time. That happens a lot. But I think using Maria, for example, she knows a ton of people, you know. So why not say, you know, in addition to Discover, who else do you know that I should be talking to? But you know, and whether this sounds like Chat GPT stroking her ego and says, I believe, Maria, that you keep a good tab on the market and you probably know some people I should talk to. You know, I believe that. I believe that about everybody. I believe they know somebody, but I want them to believe that too, if that makes sense.
So interestingly enough, one of the interviews I got was a guy I met through a vinyl record. So he's the COO of a startup. I met him through a vinyl records club meetup, and I got an interview for a project management that his company had open. But it became very clear that they really weren't in a position for a project manager yet. What they really needed, you know, I ended up doing a consulting action with them. Basically, you know, this is what, you know, you think you need this, but what you're actually looking for is this, from what I'm hearing in this interview. And he's like, yeah, you're right. And what they were looking for was something that was not actually my skill set. So, but you know, you never know where you're going to meet people. My position with NCR, I met that guy at a restaurant, and he talked to somebody that he had he talked to somebody who called me in for an interview before they ever even posted the position. So you never.
You worked for NCR before they moved out of Utah?
Yes, I did. I even had the offer to move to Atlanta.
Did you work with Alan Whitaker?
I did work with Alan Whitaker.
All right. Previous client of mine. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. So and interestingly enough, when I decided I didn't want to move to Atlanta, they moved me to pre-sales so that they could still keep me. And I loved pre-sales and implementation. I'd love to do that again. So, and that's one thing that AI is probably not going to do a lot of incursion into, because you can give instructions, but somebody needs to walk a client through setting stuff up.
So, before we got about 10 minutes left. I want to just say, I want to show a warm thank you to Maria. This is how we do this in Job Team. So we're all going to say thank you. This is our thank you. Questions that she sparked. I think a takeaway from me as a career coach is if you haven't used AI, and I'm going to ask, I'm just curious. I love having prompts, and I love having prompts that disrupt what, for example, Chat GPT will do. Because if you haven't played with it, Chat GPT will always make you feel good. Maria shared that with us. They'll make you feel good. And Maria says, quit trying to make me feel good. Just be honest with me. I think is what you're saying, right, Maria? So questions people have. Who here, by raise of hand, how many people are using currently an AI? Okay. All right. All right. And those who didn't raise their hand, I would say, I'd encourage you to. And she said something that I want you guys to make sure you heard. And we've heard it not only from Maria, we heard it from Roger in the past. Sean hopped on when one of our people said goodbye, and he said, I was using ChatGPT and I went to Claude and I got a whole different experience. And so I like the fact that there's lots of different ones to use, and you don't have to shell out money right away. You don't have to shell out. So,
And I'll admit that I use Claude for a lot of things, but I'm also finding that Claude comes off pretty analytical and cold. And if I want to do, like with networking messages, I will usually go to Gemini or Chat because I want it to come off more friendly.
So other questions that were sparked here that, she's here and hopefully Maria will continue to be here, but she might be landing really quickly. If she does land really quickly, which, oh, by the way, that's my goal for everybody. And who can tell somebody if I could curse each and every one of you with one goal? Who knows what that is? Who can tell us? I should have drilled that in your brain, somebody's brain. Okay, Jason, what is that?
So that you get multiple job offers so you can pick the one that you really want.
Yeah. Isn't that what we should have? Is it possible? It is. It is. It definitely is. And so, if I had something to pass on today, take what Maria spent the time to and try it. Play with it. I'm embarrassed because I've only played with Chat GPT. And the reason is I didn't know how to use the other ones. I was in Word trying to use Copilot in Word, and it doesn't work as well in Word as it does as a standalone for me. Does that make sense? Maybe for a Word document, but maybe it's because I don't know how. And this helped give me some ideas to know how. Desiree, you have another question?
I did. I just wanted to kind of follow what Maria started to do, was she kind of gave us some tips on which of the AI resources are good for different things. So again, my apologies if I missed this at the beginning of your presentation, but specific to like Perplexity, what do you use Perplexity a lot for?
I have never actually used Perplexity, and
Okay.
hearing about it now, I will probably spend some time today going and playing with it.
It's a Steve AI problem, Desiree. By the way, did I put some stuff in AI and I said, "Hey, I want to promote her," and and so they threw in Perplexity and I didn't, but I put documents in it, so I didn't do my job to see if it was in the document she sent me. So guess what? You're not the only person who's asked that today.
Okay.
Yeah.
My apologies.
That's okay. We did mention that you should validate what outputs AI gives you to make sure they're accurate. So,
thank you.
Okay. Anything else we want to cover today? I mean, I think probably you guys are like going like it's went to a buffet and I'm so full. I'm so full. I would go through and I would go try this. And there's something she said I don't think you guys read. How many people, and I like this. How many people who are using AI have had their AI talk to them? Okay. Okay, just I see Kate and Desiree. Anybody else? And Maria and myself. Okay. So I'm gonna pull on Kate and Desiree. We'll go with Kate. She's brand new. We met last week. Kate, tell everybody, what do you like about, do you like that? Remember, do you like it or is it too freaky for you?
Oh, I actually use it probably a little bit more than I ought to. I use it for a lot of different aspects of my life, not just in professionally. But what I like about it is it is very validating. Um, but there are times that I have to say you need to be you don't try to make me feel good, like you said, Maria. I need some steel-toed boots. And so it gives me, it's very interesting to see the contrast where it's like, oh, you're doing great, you're amazing too. All right, you really want to hear it? Are you sure? Here it is. And it's nice to hear that balance between the two. And so I've used AI to rewrite my resume many, many times. And so when I do apply for jobs, I will take the job description, I will post that in the AI, and then I will put my resume and I'll say, all right, will you please help me to adapt my resume so that it fits this job description. And so, but I like a lot of the prompts that you provided, Maria. I really appreciate those. And so I'm going to see, and I haven't tried Gemini or the other ones before, so I think I'm going to do that as well.
Yeah, and I'll admit that sometimes I will ask Claude, what would ChatGPT tell me? Or if I'm in ChatGPT, I'll say, what would Claude tell me for this?
Uh-huh.
Especially if it's getting overly friendly.
Uh-huh.
So before I switch, I'll say, wait, how would Claude phrase this to me? Or what would Claude tell me? So, just to get it to out of that ultimate friendly bit.
Yeah.
So, but I would, if I could just close, each of you knows what your industry triggers are for hiring in your position. So I would set up something to have the AI check every morning or once a week or whatever you need. Which companies have triggers that will lead to hiring and get there before the jobs are even posted?
And I think talk to the insiders if you have some insiders there, Get your resume in front of the people who might be doing the hiring.
How do you set it up to actually tell you?
So so I actually just asked Claude to help me set up an agent that'll run every morning. So
Oh, stop. Just stop.
no, seriously, that's what I did. I said, hey, Claude, I understand that I could set up a recurring prompt that runs every morning. How do I do that? And Claude said, oh, you want to create a Gen AI agent. This is how we do it.
And to go out with that a little bit farther, Larry, is you ask it to say, I also have a security clearance. It's a top secret security clearance. I do this, help me go out and find the jobs. Is that what you mean by an agent, Maria?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Honestly, so I have another AI agent that looks for new postings posted within the last 24 hours. It runs Tuesday through Friday because I want to get in early on those postings. So anything that showed up in the last 24 hours that I am a match for. And it's interesting because I'm having it search the job description, not the titles. And sometimes I'm getting back titles that it's like, I never would have even looked at that if I was looking at titles. Because titles don't matter. What matters is the work you're doing.
I want to wrap up with one quick thing, and I don't believe Maria did this last week, but she's really glad she went to the hospital at that hour. Not last Sunday, but the Sunday before. I was shortage of breath and I got on, and oh, by the way, I have an Apple Watch. So I'm an Apple person, and it tells me that I have an irregular heartbeat. I'm an AFib, and it's not slowing down. And I'm having a conversation with ChatGPT. And of course, my wife's concerned, and it's asking for all this data, and it really does a good job for your health. Not that you should trust it over a doctor, but I believe it helps give you some information when you don't have somebody else to call right away before you call or go into the ER. So. Okay, Maria, thank you so much for coming today. I don't know where we're going tomorrow or tomorrow, seems like tomorrow, next Monday, but I think we might want to continue on this particular conversation and, you know, even do more. Yes, Desiree, big round of applause. Yes. So I'm going to end this recording. Stay tuned, everybody.